to help build the RICO. Part of a RICO is that organization controls territory and controls adversaries. And so myself and a couple other, 4 other agents showed up in Colorado Springs with this completely fabricated, homemade biker gang called the Unforgiven,
right,
wearing Colorado bottom rockers. And we basically were throwing ourselves out there as bait to see, are the Sons going to approach us? Are they going to intimidate us and tell us you can't be here without our permission?
And what was the goal to get them to do that so you could get some sort of intimidation charge, or what was your goal?
It's like we talked about earlier. They were predisposed for that, and we were giving them an opportunity to show that that is in fact how they conducted their business. We go into this bar, we scout the bar, there's nothing there. We go into a spot that they hung out at called Jeannie's Tavern in Colorado Springs. And we're smoking and joking and showing off and talking shit. Well, out of the back room, little did we know, they were having a charter church. And a dozen Sons come out of the back room when we're there kind of showing our ass.
This was serendipitous. This wasn't planned.
It was not planned. We would have avoided that audacious of an approach.
Right.
Get confronted, and they just basically said, you guys can't be here. You got to take those cuts off and leave them. We don't ever see you again. Right there, it was mission accomplished. Like the objective of that operation was completed.
So what would that be? Would that fall under intimidation?
Intimidation, control of territory.
Control of territory.
Use of violence.
And that would those be RICO charges?
Those would have been part of a RICO.
No.
Predicate act for a RICO.
Are you familiar with VICOR?
Dímelo, mi gente. Miklo apenas reportándose desde la bóveda secreta. Madre capítulo, puñeta, los perros, ya tú sabes. So listen, that clip that you just saw is a segment from an interview done by George Christie, longtime leader of a charter in California of a major club most people are familiar with. And this ex-ATF agent, Jay Dobbyns, is doing this interview with George Christie, essentially explaining how he infiltrated George Christie's previous club. And the reason I wanted to highlight this segment that I just showed you is because in this section of the interview, this cat Jay Dobbyns is essentially going through a mission that he had at one point where he was supposed to, with a few other ATF agents, his mission was to sew up a RICO case on a whole different club. Not George's previous club, a whole different club. And essentially, what they set out to do was put on a bunch of fake patches, right? Go to the watering hole of this other 1% club and put themselves out there as bait, you know, because they knew that this other 1% club would show up and say, take off those patches or we're going to hurt you. So their goal was, you know, to prove furtherance of criminal racketeering under threat of violence, or however it's worded, right? It's a RICO predicate. Essentially, it's illegal to say, this is our territory, you're going to do what we say while you're in our territory, or we're going to hurt you. And these ATF agents, all they had to do was prove that, you know, and this major club fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, right? And, you know, the reason I wanted to highlight this particular segment is because knowing that there are ATF agents, groups of ATF agents out there throwing on sets of fake patches and putting themselves out there as bait, why on God's green earth would any clubs be out there trying to play patch police, right? That's my first question. Why would you, what could be so important that you'd be willing to risk putting your club through a RICO trial, right? Putting your national cabinet behind bars for life. what could be so fucking important that you're willing to do that, right? Because from where I'm sitting, we're talking about chest beating rights. We're talking about the ability to say this is so and so country. You know, this is perro country, ese. Better recognize that's it. That's the reward for putting your club through all that, right? So to me, it's ridiculous, you know. And my whole mission here, my whole objective in putting out these videos is to help my fellow one percenters make better decisions, man. That's why I'm doing everything I'm doing on here, putting myself out here like this, is with the hopes of inspiring fellow one percenters to make better choices, right? I see a lot of these creators out here, man, and what they say is things like, I don't advocate patch policing, I don't like patch policing, but I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So I tell everybody, just do whatever the guy in the big patch tells you to do. If you saw a patch on National Geographic or Gangland, you know, just do whatever they tell you to do, because it's not worth it, you know. And essentially what you're doing, man, when you do that is you're keeping a cycle, a negative cycle in motion. I know you think that you are too small to make a difference or whatever, but man, when you have a voice in this community and you push that type of shit, you're keeping the negative cycle in motion, man, you know. Because there's culpability on all levels, man. You can't just blame the clubs that perpetuate this shit. It's also these cats that show up saying, control me, I want to be controlled, you know, and that's where they get it from, is this whole narrative, man. It's a cycle, right? So, you know, we as creators, people with a voice in this community, in this culture, it's our responsibility to, you know, put a different narrative in motion, man. You know, this culture was built on true freedom. I don't think anybody can dispute that, right? And, you know, we've come full circle. In too many parts of this culture, we've come full circle and become the very thing we once rebelled against. In fact, in some parts of the culture, it's come full circle once or twice or three times over. We've had situations, I've laid out, mapped out timelines of scenarios where a club is born in rebellion of the AMA, then said club goes to a state, patches over a bunch of other clubs, takes over the state, and turns into an oppressive force, and a club stands up against them and says, we just want to be left alone. We don't want to be controlled by you. We don't want to step on your toes. We're going to do our thing over here. Said club, who was born in rebellion of the AMA and its oppressive tactics back in the day, says, no, this state belongs to us. You're going to do what we say or we're going to hurt you. You can't wear patches. If you're going to wear a patch, it's going to be our patch. So they became what they once rebelled against. And then this little club over here that was born in rebellion of them, you know, fights their battles against them, grows slowly but surely. And then years later, they are big enough to start making calls. And now they're out there saying, we're the dominant, you need our permission. So it goes in, the cycle repeats itself time and time again. I guess it's just human nature, you know. And it's the responsibility of leaders within the culture to put a stop to it, man. You know what I mean? Because I promise you that's not what this culture was ever meant to be about. You know, the philosophy in this culture is true freedom, right? And what is true freedom in the eyes of a one percenter? True freedom in the eyes of a one percenter is the freedom to do whatever the hell you want, however the hell you want to do it, as a group, family, club, whatever you want to call yourselves. You know, if you want to put on purple patches and wear purple antennas and call yourselves the Purple Alien Club, go right on ahead, and nobody has the right to stop you, as long as you are not hurting anybody else, stealing from anybody else, or robbing anybody else of their dignity, or messing with anybody's family members or anything like that. As long as you are abiding by universal respect and etiquette, right? That's true freedom, man. And under that, we can all live and coexist in harmony, right? Because the only conflict that arises in this culture arises because of this territorial, violence-driven system of this area belongs to me and my club, and well, when you're here, you're going to do what we tell you to do, or we're going to hurt you. That's violating that true freedom, right? You know, that's what it is. It's universal respect and etiquette. Nobody wants to get assaulted. Nobody wants to get stolen from. Nobody wants to get their family members messed with. And nobody wants to get publicly humiliated, right? Nobody wants their dignity robbed. So if we can get back to abiding by universal respect and etiquette in this culture, rather than trying to shove this unwritten, totally illegal system down everybody's throats, because here's what's going to end up happening. Slowly but surely, the powers that be are going to be able to prove that it is systemic within our culture. One violent incident at a time, tallies on a board. Slowly but surely, they are going to be able to prove to their bosses, the lawmakers, right? They're going to be able to prove on paper, and they're going to be able to push for laws to get passed that are going to severely restrict our life in this culture, right? They're going to be able to slowly but surely prove that it is systemic. When you've got chairman of the COC practicing this BS, promoting this BS, out there, you know, making videos talking about this BS, it's only a matter of time before the powers that be are able to prove that it is systemic practice within our culture. And it's illegal. So you're talking about systemic illegal practice within MC culture being promoted and kept in motion, right? Well, that's a Fed's dream come true is what it is. And it's only a matter of time before they're going to severely restrict our lives in this culture, even more so than they already do. You know, it's like Lil Dave said, man. He said, what do you think? They're going to stop with our club? It's going to be a domino effect. And he's right, man. You know, so the point is, man, everybody needs to get back to what this culture was built on in the first place, which is universal etiquette and respect.